Everybody knows the basic problem. In the last 3.5 years, our country has really transformed in the most horrible way possible. All of the values and everything that we considered to be normal has been turned upside down. We've been affected from a constitutional basis, an economic basis, a social basis, a military basis. Everything has basically changed. And the people that are responsible are Joe Biden and Jim Himes, who is both an enabler and a congressman who really doesn't do his job. And in the end, the reason that he needs to go is that he doesn't do his job. It's as simple as that. I mean, that's the basic point. But look what's happened. You all know what happened. Look at the price of gasoline. Look at the price of heating oil. Look at the price of electricity. Look at the price of food. All these things skyrocketed. And for many, many people, middle-class people, working-class people, they can't afford to make ends meet, thanks to Jim Himes and thanks to Joe Biden. And the real reality is these people don't care. They have some bizarre agenda that defies logic, makes no sense, and yet this is what they're shoving down people's throats. And it's not like voluntary. Hi, we're gonna get rid of fossil fuels, but the way we're gonna get rid of it is we're just gonna get rid of it, and you got to figure out how you're gonna heat your house, and you have to pay more. That's your problem. You know, this is essentially what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that don't care. Then you get into the entire concept of bringing people here illegally. I mean, it breaks the whole, look who comes across the border. We have criminals, we have drug dealers, we have gang members, we have people from foreign countries who could be soldiers. Plus we have drug traffickers, human traffickers, sex traffickers, and I would call, economic refugees. And this craziest thing about it is these economic refugees are deriving more benefits than regular citizens. If you're a middle-class person, and even if you have employer insurance or you have to buy your own, you have a deductible, you have co-pays. These people get free Medicaid, thanks to you. Does that make any sense? A lot of people have trouble thinking, well, gee, if I go to the doctor, I got to pay my deductible, I'm a little strapped, and people like to delay health care, which I think is absolutely unacceptable. And certainly when you have people that are essentially getting it for free, who just walked in the door, and what is that going to do? It's just going to bring more people here. We have fentanyl, it's the one and done drug. You take a pill and you're dead. And I propose that the people that do that should be murderers. They shouldn't be punished as murderers, they should be prosecuted as murderers. The people that manufacture those pills with knowingly fatal doses, they should be accomplices or conspirators to commit murder. And if you start charging these people with murder, then all of a sudden you're going to get a much different outcome than you're getting today. You're going to start to see them get scared, and you're going to start to see that the fatal fentanyl is going to disappear. We're not going to get rid of drugs, but we need to get rid of death. But and our entire Constitution is held upside down. They don't believe in freedom of the press. They don't believe in the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. But the one constitutional right they seem to think is they have the right to prosecute anyone they want, and if you happen to be politically different from them, your chances of getting prosecuted are a heck of a lot more. This is not democracy. We are, in a sense, essentially have to do a political revolution. And if you look at what happened in 1776, which is coming, the anniversary is coming up in a couple of days, actually toward the end of the week, you had people that had an intolerable government, a government that was abusing them. And for them to get rid of that government, they had to go to war. They had to risk everything they had. They had to risk their lives, their fortunes, their families, safety and security to get rid of a bad government. And the probability of them winning was pretty lousy. And yet they did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. And they stepped up and they won. We don't have to do that. We can get rid of our government by going to the ballot box. But the way we get to the ballot box is we need two things. We need people to show up. We need to get independents to join us. We need to raise the funds to win elections. Look at the craziness that's going on. Jamal Bowman, they got rid of him with $13 million they spent just on a primary so that they can replace him with a Hillary Democrat. I mean, that's not like a super win, but it's an improvement. If they spend 10% of that in this district, we could get rid of Jim Himes, I think, fairly easily. But the people have forgotten about us. We're the forgotten state. People don't want to come and help us, and they've given up. But we can't give up, and we have to fight, and we have to prove that we can change the government in this district. And the way that you have to do that, if you look at the demographics, Democrats outnumber us, there's no question. But the people that outnumber both of us are independents and unaffiliates. So the campaign and the strategy has to be very simple. You have to appeal to independent and unaffiliated voters. And the way that you do that is you're not like my opponent does by saying I'm a member of the Tea Party and I want to join the Freedom Caucus. You're not going to get independent and unaffiliated voters like that. You need to go to them and say, what are your problems and what can we do as a government to fix it? And one of the most glaring problems that every single person in this room has seen every single day is Interstate 95. If you drive along that road, it's a disaster. So, for example, when we had the convention, it took me to get from Greenwich to Fairfield, it took almost 2 hours because the roads were so bad. And there was both short-term solutions and there are more drastic solutions. And the most important point is that the federal government will pay 80% of the money. So why in 16 years didn't Jim Himes say, I'm going to get the money to fix 95? Because it probably didn't matter to him. His job was moving up the party line, advancing his own career. His job was not to make your lives better. Every time you're on 95, remember Jim Himes. Remember why you're crawling at 5 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour when you could actually be traveling. Even the simplest things like a movable barrier where you could just simply, but they do that in New York, they did it in other states, where they shift one lane depending on the traffic flow. They're not even doing the simplest thing like that. And they're certainly not fixing the road. Jim Himes is a total accomplice in all the high energy costs, all these ridiculous bills, all this wasteful government spending. He even wants to bring people from Gaza here. He thinks that's a good idea. Of course, if you actually ever read the Hamas Covenant, and remember, 75% of the people in Gaza support them. They support killing people like Jews. They have no problem. And in the Hamas Covenant, not only do they don't like Jews, they actually are still pissed off against Christians for the Crusades. It still bothers them that Christians came to their land and took it over. I mean, these people are living in an alternate reality. And you want these people as you're living next door to you, Not me. But Jim Himes does, so that's another thing that you have to understand. So this is what we're up against. And this is why I believe that people are going to wake up. They're going to sit, and the other thing about Himes is he spent 2 months with the Sandinistas and in college and wrote a wonderful paper, 95 pages, how wonderful they are. Of course, 20% of the population left Nicaragua, and now and we have 60,000 Hispanic voters in this district, and I don't know how many of them know that Jim Himes loves communist governments, since many of them that are here have fled communist governments. Of course, we have the two, we also have Puerto Ricans who just came from Puerto Rico, but we have both, so they didn't have to flee anything. But the point is that whole population needs to be educated as to who this guy is. But I mean, this is how you win. We go into all these ideas, and then we start to talk about the social issues and the craziness that these people are doing, and the liberties that are being taken away, and the future, and the whole idea of education. So I believe if all they do is like to say Republicans are racists. Republicans are racist, and because you don't want to create all these DEI programs and all these other crazy ideas, you're racist. But you know who the real racists are? The Democrats. And the reason that they're racists are because they have taken the poor people in these democratic cities and they have totally betrayed them. They have given them a second-rate, substandard education. They will not allow, they're against charter schools, they're against school choice, they're against things that will give these people an opportunity and a chance for a better life because they don't want them to have a better life because maybe they won't vote for them anymore. And so they are the ones that are actually practicing racism, and we need to call them out for exactly what they are and exactly what they're doing. Because what they're doing is unacceptable. And when we start to tell people the real truth, the real messages, and we get to independents, we get to unaffiliates, we have the loyal base of our Democrats, of Republicans rather, not Democrats. Maybe we can get them loyal too, I mean, you never know. Who believe in freedom, who believe in the Constitution, who believe in individual rights, who believe in private enterprise, and who believe in a healthcare system that works, and certainly they don't believe in anti-Semitism, they don't believe in tolerating people screaming, kill the Jews. But the only reason they don't say anything is because they're their voters. So if they're their voters, do you want to be on that team? I certainly don't. So this is what we're up against. We can do this. We can actually win, but we win by sticking to the message, by telling people the absolute truth, telling them why they need not to vote for Jim Hines, but to vote for me. And if we can get that message and we can convince enough of those people that they are getting the raw end of the deal by keeping Jim Hines in power, and and once again, as I said, the fact he's not even doing anything, and that we can offer better choices, that's how we win. And we need to fight, and we need to show everyone that people like this cannot govern us. And that's why I'm asking every single one of you to stand up and fight for this country, not with a gun, but with a ballot box, with your body, with your time, and with your money, so that we can make change in this state and show to the rest of the world that we're not going to take this kind of abuse anymore. Thank you.